Captains of Industry, brought to you by Airtel.
Things have changed, many would argue, in the last 2 years, from being an industry that was heavily protected in East Africa in 2008 to one where tariffs have been reduced and the market opening up to new players. What's your perspective?
Well, I think with the coming in of the globalization, this was something which was expected. We expected tariffs to go down. We expected that regional integration would take place. We expected our markets would be available to the global players and we could walk into the global markets. So yes, that's happened. It's a welcome change. It helps us to be more healthy as a company and helps us to prepare and fight battles in other markets.
What are some of the challenges you've experienced in growing this business in Kenya and indeed in East Africa? Because, as I said, in 2008, protectionism in the form of 40% import tariffs for cement coming in. Now it's been reduced to 25%. But there's a sense that liberalization has been introduced because the industry itself hasn't worked to optimum level.
Well, I think the biggest challenge for us was to achieve international quality and cost benchmarks so that when globalization came in and regional market integration came in, tariffs went away, we would be able to compete with the international players. That called for investment in technology, that called for investment into energy efficient plants, that called for investment into environmentally friendly plants. Now that was probably our biggest challenge. In 2005, we set up the most modern cement plant in this part of the world. We are proud to say that today our plant is the most environment friendly, is the most energy efficient, and getting to adapt that technology in our working environment was probably the greatest challenge.
Now that you've got players coming in as far as India and China, as well as this amalgamation of indigenous players and the rise of companies, smaller companies like Mombasa Cement and all of the others, how has it changed the dynamic for you?
Well, first I would mention that, we have enough capacity locally. All the 5 manufacturers have capacity to meet the demand in the country. So to a large extent, we are able to service our markets and therefore we are not really impacted by the finished cement products from India and China.
Yeah.
However, because there's a lot of competition, it's a buyer's market. The price is price sensitive now. The margins are under pressure, but at the same time, volumes are growing. Now, given the market scenario that the prices are going down, but the markets are growing, our strategy has been to capture the market and offer the market with affordable cement.
Talk to us a little bit about this being a buyer's market, because a variety of factors are at play. Inflation is manageable at this moment, but there is a fear that we could see inflationary pressures coming to the fore. And as a result, Kenyan consumers, East African consumers are very price sensitive at the moment. And so rival companies, for instance, have introduced mechanisms such as reducing the price but saying to customers, you come to the warehouse to collect the finished product. We don't do deliveries. I mean, others have had to start transporting the goods during the evening so that they conserve fuel. So there are those kinds of nuanced innovations that have to be introduced.
Well, in Kenya and in East Africa, logistics cost is probably one of the largest cost elements after energy. And therefore, any savings which we can do in the logistics either increases our profit margin or gives a better price to the customers. All the companies are being innovative. We are looking at ways at saving this cost and various marketing strategies are coming into play, various logistics strategies are coming into play to achieve this. Now, most of the companies are anyway selling their product ex-factory. Now, the strategy of most of the companies is ex-factory price plus the transport. Now, whatever benefit comes in the transport, either by transporting it at night or asking the customers to use their own transport or to use return transport, this benefit goes back to the customers.
Energy costs, that has posed the biggest inflationary pressure for Kenya. The government's doing a lot, we know, to try to sort out new energy supply and transmission lines, but that creates a huge impediment for how you run your business and the operating costs of your business.
Energy cost has 2 components. The first is electricity and the other is fuel. Now, as far as electricity in the country is concerned, we are a country where 60% of our electricity is hydro produced. That's one of the cheapest source of electricity. If the rains are good, as they have been this year, the pressures on an upward price increase for electricity is not there. The second is fuel. We are a coal-based plant. We import our coal from South Africa. Coal is not mined in East Africa, so most of the companies have to import it from South Africa. The coal prices are linked generally to the world oil prices. The oil prices have been stable in the last 2 years. So generally the inflationary pressures on both energy sectors, electricity and fuel, has not been there. Under containment in this year, but one of the pressures which has been acting in our country is the strong devaluation which has taken place. Now the Kenyan shilling has depreciated from 72, 75 levels to 81, 82 levels. Now that is going to add pressure because coal is imported in dollars, the electricity is actually priced in dollars and then converted through a foreign exchange conversion factor into shillings. So yes, our costs have gone up, but fortunately in the last 2 years, because of good rainfalls and low oil prices, the two have balanced off. They have hedged against each other.
Just talking about the future then, because there is a fear that with slowed recovery, but recovery nonetheless, we are going to start seeing fuel prices rise internationally. The costs of importing are going to rise for you. The investments into electricity means tariffs are going to be going up. All those kinds of issues to contend with. I mean, as we speak to other leaders related to this sector, such as the construction sector, they expect that housing demand, for instance, will rise to something like 150,000 units per annum demand. Because of infrastructure and logistical issues, they're not going to meet that demand, but you're going to be a critical component of that equation. Where do you see the future of ARM in the next few months?
Let's look at the cement consumption in Kenya. The cement consumption, the per capita cement consumption in Kenya is just 65 kgs per person. Now, if you compare it with any other country in Africa, for example, South Africa, the per capita consumption is 330. If you compare it with any developed country, it's close to 500 to 600 kgs per person per annum. European countries, Spain, etc., saw a high of 800 kgs per person per annum. Now, we are at a very low base. We are deficient of housing. We are deficient of infrastructure. We don't have enough power plants. So going forward, Africa has to invest in infrastructure, whether it's roads, it's power, it's housing, or anything else. Now, going forward, we expect that cement is the key component in all these projects. Cement would have to be supplied, and if we don't get the right quantity of cement into the market, the development of the country will suffer. So we expect cement business to be good, and therefore we look at a positive future for our company.
All right, so growing your market share, it's been stable, we're told, reportedly around 10%. There's still a lot of the market that you can capture, but you've got to break the stranglehold of these big companies. Lafarge is said to control 50% of this market at a time of liberalization, at a time when East Africa is opening up. You want to just claw your way to the top.
The constraint for us to increase market share is not our ability to penetrate the market. It is our ability to increase capacity. Now, cement is a capital intensive business. We are a very African company, and therefore we don't have capital available as any other European country would have. So given the fact that we are a very African company and capital is a constraint, we expect a very small and steady increase in our market share over the next 5 years.
Now, obviously, cement is not solely what you do. You're also very strongly involved in mineral beneficiation and mining. Can you just tell us a little bit about your competitive edge in that sector?
Well, once again, though we look a very diversified company, we are essentially a mineral mining and processing company. We mine the minerals and process them into value-added products. Is the same raw materials we use for all our divisions. Now, our competitive edge comes in that we are a diversified company using the same technologies, same raw material sources, we use the same processes, but we create 5 different range of products. This helps us to reduce our administrative costs, this helps us to reduce our mining costs, and that gives us a competitive edge in the market.
Just talk to us about that a little bit more, in the sense that so much focus on the mining industry, commodity prices have improved because of the general state of the world we're living in, but Africa's constantly been criticized as doing exactly the opposite of what you do. We're very good at digging the minerals out of the ground, whatever it may be, precious stones, precious metals, whatever the case may be, but we're not very good at value add.
I think you've hit the point right there. Yes, I think the future of Africa, we have all the resources, we have the mineral resources. All what we need to do is to create a base to create value-added industries in our part of the world. I mean, we export iron ore from Africa, and then we import the finished steel. I mean, especially in Kenya, we do it. In South Africa, you're fortunate you have some steel companies, but in Kenya and East Africa, we still import steel. Now, the key for the growth of Africa and the key for us to come out of poverty and for us to have economic development is creating value building industries in our part of the world.
We're going to continue speaking on this track with Surendra Bhatia, who's the Deputy CEO of Athi River Mining.